Hey, CJ. Welcome to Automate All the Things. I'm excited to
Hey,
have you.
Aaron. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to build some stuff. This looks we've got something fun today.
Yeah. So maybe some context into yourself. I think most developers know what DevRel is, but I think actually
Yeah,
most no coders have probably never met a developer relationer. I don't know how to put that into
yeah,
a noun.
yeah. Usually, like the role is developer advocate, and we
Okay.
like do developer advocacy or we do developer relations. Yeah,
So there are no developers here. So what are we gonna do today, knowing that there's no developers watching? Well, there
yeah,
might be some actually, but there's
yeah.
usually no developers watching.
Sure. Yeah. So no code is taken off. No code is taken off thanks to things like your channel, Airtable. And so no code has become like a really popular way to build things online. And we want to arm developers and arm upstarts and arm businesses with the tools so they can help build their businesses online. And as a developer advocate, I think it's interesting to sort of dip our toes into the no code space a little bit and help folks that are in the no code space get up and running with tools that have typically been saved for developers outside of, maybe building with plugins, right? So now you have a lot of access to the same infrastructure and tools that developers typically would use as a no code, someone that's building with no code. So, um,
Yeah. So let me know in the chat. I'm curious to see like the mix of folks. Like, do we have developers here today? Are most folks? It seems like I'm recognizing Colleen, Penny. Welcome back. Appreciate you joining. And I'd love to know as well, like, is there a marketplace that you'd like to build? Right. So there are different types of marketplaces that we could build today, right? And I
mhm.
think we're going to do something very simple, which is just like items in a marketplace, which could be jobs, it could be boats, it could be whatever it is that you want.
Yeah,
But maybe CJ, I'll let you kind of introduce the use case for today and how we kind of came about it.
sure. Yeah. So Stripe just recently, so Stripe is a platform for building your business online. Most commonly used for collecting payments, but we also help you like incorporate, and there's a bunch of other features from Stripe that can help you build your business. And we recently released a no-code tool for accepting payments called Payment Link. And in a previous Automate All the Things, Aaron met with Josh, and they went through like the whole process for creating a payment link and connecting it to your base. And as a fast follow, so right after we release support for payment links, we also release support for payment links with multi-party payments, meaning that you can use this no-code offering for collecting payment through payment links and also split some of those payments among sellers or vendors. So if you think of a platform or marketplace like Shopify or Lyft, right, where you are sort of facilitating payments on behalf of someone else, you can now do that with no code using payment links. And so, yeah, we're excited to maybe show how we might build out a platform, or you might become the marketplace and you are helping facilitate sales to end customers on behalf of some other sellers or vendors or other folks that you're helping out. So,
You have such
um,
a educator's voice, CJ. Like you're using the right terms, you're thinking about the terms you're using. So I absolutely love it. So, you know,
thank-
what I love about Stripe right before we jump in here is that, you started with developers and as a company, your goal is to increase the GDP of the internet. And most folks are not developers, right? They don't know how to implement Stripe.js, right? And
Mhm.
so now you're finally getting to that point where actually democratizing the ability to build an online business and mainly payment, which is frankly no business can live without. So our goal for today is going to be hopefully in an hour, maybe a little less, 50 minutes, start from a new Airtable base, talk through how to build the easiest marketplace. I'm going to use an example of like appliances, like let's say a neighborhood marketplace, a local marketplace where folks can, but there's going to be a ton of things we don't manage, but we just
Mhm.
want to get to that payment. And we're going to leave some time at the end for like, okay, how do we handle these other things, maybe communication or verification or other stuff. Again,
Yep.
love to know in the chat. We have Penny Marketplace for arts groups. Love it. Used
Yep.
cars, all great examples. Used cars, particularly,
Totally.
I think is pretty cool. Uh,
Yep.
so, so yeah, welcome Eric to the stream. Excited to have you here. Yeah, let's kick this off. CJ, you ready to go?
Totally. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So this is where I have to do a lot of things at once, and my way of doing that is by talking about it. So now you should see my screen here. CJ, there we go.
Yep, looks great.
And boom, everyone else should see my screen as well. So let me just recap today's agenda. So we're going to start with building the base structure for an Airtable base, how to add new items and new users into that marketplace. Then we're going to go to the Stripe part. How do we set up a payment for each item in that marketplace? And then when someone pays, how do we track back to the Airtable base to say, oh, that item is no longer for sale? And then I have about 50 or 60 things that are not taken care of in this build, like communication, multi-users selling one user selling maybe 10, 15 things and things like that. Mm-hmm. But the cool part is that the hard part, which is, let's say CJ sells an item and I want to take 10% as the marketplace, and someone comes in through the marketplace, buys the item, we're going to be able to facilitate that splitting. So 90% will go to CJ and then 10% is going to go to me. Okay. Yeah. And CJ, you're an Airtable expert. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the structure, but feel free to kind of interrupt me and ask questions. And same thing for the chat. This is going to be where I shine, if I do shine at all. Cool. Okay. So how I think about a base structure for here is I want my marketplace to be an Airtable view, right? So we're going to create a shared view that has all of the information that someone would need to buy that item. And there's going to be a button on it that is like, buy this item, right? So, and that's going to go to the payment link. So when I think about the items, I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of putting out the fields that I think we need.
Okay.
So image.
Sure.
So we're going to have, it's going to be attachment field. Boom. I have some appliances here.
Oh, nice.
Let's do that. There you go. Someone's selling an iron. I'm really into like upcycle recently. I think, I wish I could buy stuff from the neighborhood. So maybe I will use this in my building or something. Okay. Price.
Yep.
It's going to be a currency field. Let's say this one's $20. Oh, it's $2,020. Right. What else would I need? Maybe I need add date. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a created time. Let's not do a time field. So these were created today. What else would I need from like a purity item point of view?
Yeah. So I think if we're going to keep track of the payment links in the same table, we might want a column for the payment link itself. Yeah,
payment link. And let's call that a URL. That's awesome. And then I'm going to instantly do this thing that I think is really cool. We're going to create a button that is buy this item. I'm going to call this buy this item.
Nice.
And it's going to be a nice little label, buy this, blue, green, open URL, and it's just going to go payment link.
Penny says maybe a description.
Right. That's a good point. Yep. Let's give it a rich text field. Give folks a little bit of space to write it out, right?
Nice.
So this is going to go to Stripe, like some example of stripe.com.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, and description, let's say, use Aron since work from home. Who needs an Aron? Maybe you do. There we go. It's a very informal marketplace. Okay, that feels about right. You'll notice that I'm not adding the name, and I want to do that a little later, depending on how we need to search information in this table, in this table, right, in this view. Okay, so anything else that we should be adding just from like a item perspective?
Well, when we come back and we want to associate purchases with a specific seller, we'll want to know like who is selling this item. So it might be nice to keep track of some reference to that seller in another table.
Yeah, so we will have a sellers table.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
So I totally agree with you. So let's just call this sellers. Let's already assume that we're going to have a link. So seller, link to another record. Let's go to sellers. Let's not allow linking to multiple records. And then simply like a sold, right? And a checkbox that says whether it's been sold.
Yeah.
Right.
So one nice thing about payment links too is that you can use them and you can sell the same item over and over and over. So
do you want like amount? Is that what you're thinking?
Or maybe like quantity sold or something, and then we can keep track of like how many were sold.
Right. Let's I'm going to hold on that
Yeah, we
because I
can
think
hold.
that adds a level of complexity because I don't expect
Sure.
people to have like multiple, but it is true that you could
Okay.
create multiple records, link them to the same thing. But I do think we can use a count field for each seller. So I'll show that after.
Okay.
I'll actually
Sounds great.
remind myself number of items sold will be a count,
Okay.
and it's going to be a count on table 1. And let's call this items. Okay. That feels about right. Anything come to mind, CJ?
I think that's great. Yeah, it looks great.
Okay. Awesome. So this is going to be all items. We're going to call this. So for folks who are less familiar with Airtable, in Airtable, you can create views that are kind of, views into all of your information. So here we have an unfiltered view that says every single item. Let's maybe add a second one here just so folks can kind of get some context. So
Okay.
I have a stovetop, which is kind of like, I thought the stovetop, I don't think you can sell just the stovetop, but whatever. It's an image of a stovetop. I get, whatever, it works. Let's say this one's $500. We're still going to have stripe.com. And this is a used stovetop. Don't recommend. And let's say this one has been sold. Okay. Now we actually want to make the front end for our marketplace. So when I was kind of thinking about this, like we could embed, Airtable into a website, but Airtable is actually in and of itself already kind of a website, right? So if we create this gallery view, which kind of creates almost like a listings view. So we're going to say unsold items, available items. And we're going to filter out everything that's been sold. Where sold is unchecked, right? So now we have this kind of a record, this almost like a view, and we can actually share this. So here we go. We just create a URL, and this is our marketplace, right? So anyone coming to this URL will see the available items. Now, they can't buy anything because I haven't exposed that kind of button, but I can. Mm-hmm. So what I can do is customize cart. I can add the button that says buy this.
Nice.
Right? So now if I refresh here, boom, I have this buy this, and it goes to Stripe today, right? But that's where we're going to put our payment link. And this is for me, the kind of like MVP of marketplace, right? Where you don't need a website, you don't need to deploy anything. You could be selling, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna actually drop that in the chat.
Oh,
folks
nice.
Folks can have fun with it. I mean, right now it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And if people start messing with it, I'll disable it. Cool. Okay, so that was step 1. Let's add, you're totally right. Let's add the sellers. So let's go ahead and delete all of our records. And let's call this item. And okay, so let's seller name.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a single line text. I'm say I'm selling, and the thing I'm selling is that iron. Aron is selling an iron.
Okay.
Okay. What else would we need, right?
So in this table, we're going to want to have reference to the ID inside of Stripe for the account for that seller. So we need to we're going to use Stripe Connect to connect to the seller's Stripe account to facilitate these payments on behalf of them. So we'll want that Stripe account ID. Yeah.
Okay. So account ID. Let me actually go ahead and I'll have you as the stovetop.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
Because we have your account ID connected, right? So maybe email. Email feels right.
Sure. Yep.
And the last thing I'm going to do is in account ID. So marketplace account ID. And this will become clear why I do this when we create the form to submit items, right? Okay. So I'm actually just going to do 2 things. I'm going to call this record number. Mm-hmm. And we're going to call this record number, and it's going to be an auto number. Right? And so for folks who are new to Airtable, like this is just one of those things that if you work enough in Airtable, you kind of think about in advance. Mm-hmm. What would normally happen is that you would make the mistake I'm going to avoid in 3 minutes, which is we don't want to expose the seller names on our form but we want to be able
Right.
to tie new items to an existing seller. So instead, we create an ID. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to just do ID, which is a formula field, which is maybe like 000 and the record number.
Nice. Is there a way to like generate like a random key too that you could use?
Yes. So there's a few ways to do that. A good one and a simple one is actually the record ID.
Okay.
So we could have a formula field that is just the record ID,
Nice.
right? And it's a unique identifier within that base.
Sweet.
And,
Okay.
and you're kind of right that might be a better unique identifier. So let's actually go ahead and just have this as record ID,
Okay. Nice.
right? And that's going to be the identifier for each user in our database. And that way, when someone's submitting a new item, if they're already a user in our database, or user with big quotation marks for any developer, someone with an ID, right? We're going to be able to identify them,
Nice.
right? Cool. Okay. So now we actually have almost a marketplace in the sense that from the Airtable side, let's give ourselves like fake emails.
Okay.
And then you're going to be cj@example.com. Okay.
Great.
So the only thing left here, just from a straight easy marketplace, is actually to go ahead and add a form to submit new items.
Cool.
Right. And so, want to add something to the marketplace. Fill out this form. Okay, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this form. So name, image, price, payment link we're going to hide because we need to create that.
Yep.
And then description, and then seller. What I would recommend here is that when you're going to go into the seller, you have the record IDs, and you could hide all of these values so people just get the record IDs, right? But what you usually would do is like, hey, do you have a user ID? If so, select it. If you don't, reach out to us, or fill out the seller's form to create one, and then select your record. And this we're going to add in this. If we have time at the end, I will show people how to do that, like automation to go to the other form, submit it, and then let that person know about their record ID. But in our case, let's say that you are submitting this item.
Okay.
And sold
And can you like nest another form inside of this form, or is it
Yeah.
you have like two separate forms?
It would be two separate forms, but you can create like in the description a link to that other form.
Oh, nice. Okay.
There's
That
a few
works.
ways, like we can do a future stream on like how to avoid this and how to edit existing stuff. But let's keep.
Nice. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, and now we have our form. So folks can now submit items. I'm not going to do that, but this is how folks would submit new items. And then they would assign themselves that item, and it would show up in our available items, which are then displayed. That said, we should actually kind of thought process here. We should have a little check that says, do you have a payment link? Right? Because we don't want to show items on the gallery that don't have a payment link. So what we can do is add a second filter. So where payment link is not empty.
Great. Nice.
That way, someone submits the form until we create a payment link. They're not going to be on our marketplace. And so last tip here, and then we're going to jump into Stripe, is that a further recommendation is you can create an email to that submitter, right? If they selected their seller, well, they have to. I'll make this required. To let them know that like, hey, we're going to go ahead and create a payment link for you. There's going to be a few steps that you need to take. You can jot down in that email all of those steps. And then once they're done, you create their Stripe payment link, and it's created that gallery item, which appears in the marketplace. So I'm going to take a deep breath.
Yeah. So a couple things that we could also do is like generally, if we were having people submit items that they were going to sell, I think it would typically be something they're going to sell over and over and over again with a payment link. We have other offerings for like one-time sales, so you might use an invoice in that case. if we're going to sell something over and over and over, like a book, right? If you're uploading a book or some
Mm,
artwork that you have, multiple copies of, I think those are good use cases. But the one thing that I wanted to mention is that like, um, there are pieces of this that we could automate even further by adding just a little bit of code, but you can definitely get started and sort of take a scrappy approach to finding product market fit with your marketplace and like experiment and iterate really quickly by using
mhm.
something like Airtable and payment links to just get up and running really, really quickly and validate your idea before adding too much automation. So we're
Yeah.
going to sort of manually create these payment links and we're going to manually create the account using all no code options. But it is worth mentioning that like when you submit that form, you could technically sort of make an API call in the background to like go create the product and automate more and more of those pieces. But to start, this is a really, really great way to solve the problem in like a no code way. So
Yeah. And even like, frankly, for folks who are like, I don't want to take payment, you could have a button that is like, email me,
mhm.
right? Like interested, and it links to your email, and then you could start an email conversation and then facilitate that transaction, right?
Right.
So there
Yeah.
was a question in the chat around like, what about inventory numbers? So that's an example where CJ mentioned you could have, there's a few ways to structure it where potentially you might want to create one row for each item of inventory, right? That does change a little bit the structure because then you would have, in your gallery, you would have like 3 irons. That might be one way. Or you have an inventory number that you reduce every time there's a payment. That would
Mhm.
require a little bit of automation. That's not something we're going to get
Mhm.
into today, but definitely
Right.
something that is possible. And if you do figure it out, I invite you to come to the stream and show us how you did it. I'm really curious.
Totally.
Okay, so I think with this, we have our base, we have an outline of the forms we want to submit to be able to get new sellers and new items into our marketplace. So now it's up to like, how do we set up this payment link, right? As a reminder, this payment link is what people will click on right here to buy the item. And what we want from that payment link is that it does 2 things. It takes the payment, but then splits the money 10% to me or more, depending on how much you want, and then the rest to that seller, all through Stripe. And CJ, this is where I hand off to you and to talk us through how to do that.
Yeah. So let's maybe start by talking through the process of actually connecting one of those sellers to Airtable. So could we dive into your Stripe dashboard?
Yeah, totally. Right here.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the left-hand side, really the first step is to go to your connected accounts. And here we are in test mode. And so, yeah, right down on the right-hand side, you'll see this create button. So this is
Right.
the plus next to create. This allows you to create a connected account. Now there's like a couple different types of connected accounts, and they basically vary by how much access they have to different Stripe dashboards or how much white labeling you're going to do. For the no code use case, we want to use an Express account. So if we select Express from the account drop down
Mm-hmm.
and then hit continue, we're going to create an Express connected account. And what you can do with no code is just copy that URL and send that to your seller.
Mm-hmm.
And they can then fill out all of the onboarding forms to collect all of the sort of like business know your customer information so that they can actually set up an account with a bank account that is behind their Stripe account and that is ready to accept payments. So it'll collect, their address and any of the, the legal entities that are related to the account and sort of walk them through the entire flow for setting up an account. So I saw that you copied the URL. Should we go through the process of onboarding an account?
I would only show the the page. I know
Okay, yeah,
we've
let's
gone
check it out.
through it.
Let's check
So,
it
and
out.
I'm also
Yeah,
happy to drop it in the chat if someone wants
totally.
to like
Okay.
go deeper.
Yeah. So
And where if someone fills it out, I'm happy to use it in the example. But essentially, it's like you give all your information, your email, your phone number, so that it creates a new Stripe kind of account in the backend that can
yes.
accept payments when that item is sold. So I'm going to drop that in the chat.
Okay. So that is going to be like a one-time use link. So you would have to copy and paste that for each, I believe, for everyone that wants to connect.
Yeah. So the
But
link is
we can,
too
yeah.
long
So
for the chat. It's
okay.
over 200 characters. I'm sorry,
Oh gosh,
folks. You're going to have
YouTube
to.
chat is 200 characters max. There.
Okay, if someone's
Okay.
really motivated, I'm going to do half.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then
Half of the link and the other half.
no one has to do it. We already did
Yeah.
it, but that's an
Guess the
example
other
of
half.
how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. The
Cool.
other thing that's
Okay.
really cool about this onboarding flow is you can totally brand that with your brand
Mm,
settings directly in the Stripe dashboard, so they match your like your business colors, so that when users are brought to that page, it does feel familiar. Very similar to Stripe checkout, which we'll see sort of later when we actually go through the payment flow.
luckily, we have no branding, so it's literally just a marketplace. We're gonna keep it just
Nice.
simple.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I let me just maybe I'm a Stripe noob here, and
Okay.
what this does is it just
hmm
connects our two accounts to say I can take payment on your behalf and
Yes.
then kind of flow through me. This is the
Mhm.
universal sign for flow, and then send to you a percentage of that money for whatever sales that we do.
Yes. So, yep, that's right. So when you actually connect the platform, we would call your automate all the things.io
Right.
marketplace or platform Stripe account. Using your API keys, you can sort of control any of the accounts that connect to you.
Got it.
And by control, that means that you can issue refunds on behalf of the connected
Mm,
account. You can accept payments. You can there's just a whole bunch of different things that you could do. Typically on your own account, you can also now do on behalf of all these other accounts, so that you can build tools, you can build plugins, you can build these
right.
marketplaces to facilitate these sort of payment flows as a marketplace. So I think we have a connected account, and we can
Yeah,
go
we
through
have
some of
we
the
have
examples.
you.
Yeah, that's right. So if you click on that connected account, you'll see in the URL there's that ACCT underscore. That's the
Yep.
connected account ID. It's also, I guess, on the top right there. I think we could
Yeah, right here.
copy that. That is the that's the Stripe account ID, and that is the ID we want to keep track of here.
Got
Yep,
it.
that's right. And so anytime that you receive a notification of something that happened related to a payment that was on behalf of this connected Stripe account, you can look in the webhook notification and it'll have that ID, so that you
Right.
can tell which of the sellers, accepted payment from some end customer,
Got it.
and then you can associate that payment back to this seller. So,
Okay. So
yep.
if I was to like recreate this on my end, the first step is that this would be manual today, and I'm
hmm
sure that there are plans for you to allow this to be somewhat automated. Question from Connor is
hmm
create the connected account, which actually is
hmm
just like copy that URL, let the person know that they have to do it, and then maybe every morning check your new accounts and then match their email to this ID and bring it back here so that when payment happens, we're able to know which account was paid out.
Yep. And so there are automations available. So we could actually technically build a webhook listener inside of Airtable that said, anytime we receive an account.created event from
Right.
Stripe, we could add a seller to the table. So you
Right. But
could,
Connor doesn't know how to code. So
right.
that
So that,
maybe the lesson here is Connor, learn how to code a little bit.
no, no. So this, yeah, I mean, I think I've seen streams before, right, where you're receiving a webhook notification
Yeah.
from Stripe with no code. So
Okay, we could do
that
that.
doesn't yeah, so that doesn't require any code. So you could just receive a webhook notification and add a seller to the list. So you can automate that. You can automate that part already. There's actually a few different ways you can create these connected accounts without having to go into Stripe and click on
Hmm.
the button to get that URL to create the OAuth. And then so instead, you could either build an OAuth platform and write code to do that. An alternative would be to write a little bit of code to create an account link.
Right.
But this is going into the dashboard and creating that OAuth URL is like the no code way to
Okay.
onboard a connected account. Yeah. So yeah, so you could do it with Zapier. You could do it directly inside of Airtable by receiving that webhook notification. I don't actually remember the state of the Zapier, like the official Stripe Zapier plugin, or whether or not that would. I assume that also handles like inside of Zapier, you can handle generic webhook
Yeah.
notifications. So,
So
yeah.
well, let's actually put this at the end. If we do have time, we are going to do a webhook at the end for payment. But I imagine we can also have a webhook for new connected account, right? So let's keep that for the end for
Yep.
folks like Steven and Connor, would-be
hmm
coders who haven't watched the Learn Airtable Stripe, Airtable scripting series, and who aren't like full-fledged Airtable developers just yet. Okay, so
Yeah.
step one, we've connected our account. I imagine the next step is to actually create a product so we can create a payment link for that product.
That's right. Yep. So let's
Okay.
go into products and then payment links.
Do I need to have an existing product
We
to?
can create one in part, like as part of the flow for creating a payment link. We can
Okay, got
create
it.
the product also. Yep. So
Okay.
here we can say add new product,
Okay. So
and
here's
this is
just
going to
like
be
copy
our
pasting.
exactly. And so again, there behind the scenes, there is an API where you could, like when someone submits that form initially, you could post all of this data to Stripe to create the product inside of Stripe. That would again require a little bit of um, writing a little bit of code, but that could automatically create those products inside of Stripe as people are submitting. Um, the yeah, they're so the no code way is to kind of like just see what you have entered in Airtable and come back here and type it in. Um, so
That is a JPEG though. What am I? Oh, it's a WebP. Okay, whatever. They won't have a image. So
okay,
$200. Okay, let's
okay,
add the product.
okay.
And CJ, just a
Yeah,
ask for future
yeah,
stream. I'd
yeah,
love to see like do the automated version of this. So let's like a
yeah.
part
Totally.
two. I don't know if there's any interest. Let me know in the chat if there's interest for this. But it'd be cool to just do the scripting part. So how do we auto
Okay. Yeah.
create a payment link? How do we auto connect an account? How do we create a webhook to check when a new connected account is in there?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Let me know
Yeah.
in the chat if there's interest, and I'd love to have you on to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. There.
Can't say
There.
no on
So
my stream.
technically, right now there is not an API for creating payment links. It's
Mm.
something that we would love to build, and we're excited to add. And we've had a lot of interest in that, so that we could build automations just like this. But that would be the one piece where we would have to go to the Stripe dashboard to create it. But yeah, would
That would
absolutely
save us
love to
still some
add
time. We can
people.
still do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Cool.
So I've created the payment link for the Aron. Let's go ahead and click next.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. So yeah, this is the spot where we can say
Whoa.
split the payment with a connected account, and then we can find that connected account by typing.
Why don't I have you as a, is it because I'm in test mode?
No, I'm surprised it's not there. It should be.
Let's give it. Do you want to give it a look?
Hmm.
Why we don't have it there?
Yeah. Let's go. Let's actually. Yeah. Let's go back to connected accounts and see what's going on here. So. It is complete. It should be in that drop-down list.
Ooh. This is where I put the Jeopardy music on.
Yeah.
Let's give it a try.
Let's go back to
Maybe-
that payment link and say, yeah. So can we click on the three dots and say edit? I actually don't know if editing the. Okay, so that's the product. Okay, so let's go back and try to find the payment link for this.
I can get the payment link.
Okay.
Create
Yeah.
payment link.
Or, yeah. Okay. So then if we go to next, is this split the payment, and it's not there, huh?
It's not there.
Why is that not there?
Do I need to put a percentage?
No, it should be there. It should be in the dropdown. So we have that account is confirmed and it's active.
Is it because I'm like in Canada? Is this because I'm like using the US versus Canada?
Yeah, can you try typing just like C, or yeah, let's try typing in the account ID maybe. Let's just try
Yeah.
dropping in the account ID there. Yeah, not sure what's going on.
Account ID. This is like where, boom. Let's come here. No, it says no accounts found.
No accounts found. Let's see what's going on.
Let me check if this is a Canadian product because I did have some issues of like because
Yeah,
I
it
was in
might be
Canada.
because my connected account is in the US and you're in Canada. So let's. Is the connected account that was created the other one that was created? Is that one based in Canada? Let's see.
I can check.
Okay.
This one, no, it's also based in the US.
Okay. So let's create a connected account based in Canada.
Do you want to do that in the back end?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I can continue while you're creating a Canadian account is actually go ahead and just copy the payment link as it is today with no split. And we can bring that into Airtable.
Yeah. So there's actually a couple different ways you can split payment. In the case where you're splitting when you create the payment link, that'll automatically give a portion to the connected account.
Okay.
The alternative is if you're accepting payment and then you need to pay out multiple sellers. So for instance, if you were creating t-shirts, or if you're selling t-shirts or something, right, you might want to pay the artist who created the design, 30%, and then you want to pay the company who's making the t-shirts, 50% or something. Then you would create the payment link without the split.
Oh,
and
okay.
then later on you can come back and create payouts directly through the Stripe dashboard also.
Okay, well, let's do that. And
Okay.
in that case, let's go through the flow, and then at the end we can split, manually. And then, if anyone wants to create a Canadian account to see if that was the issue, happy to do that. So let me bring in the payment link. So let me just create it. I don't think I ever created it. So payment links. I think, do I have it here? Shipping rates, products, Aron, create payment link, $20. Next. Let's not split the payment, create the link.
Yep.
Let's go bring that back into items.
Yep.
And then let's copy paste over the
Aron.
So
one limitation is that if you are a platform that's based in the US, then you can connect to accounts in other countries. But if you're a platform that's based in other countries, you can only connect to accounts that are in those countries. So in test mode, we were able to create a connected account in a different country. So mine was based in the US, yours is based in Canada. So I think that might be the limitation we're running into.
Okay. Does anyone here, I'll send it over.
Actually, yeah. Could you drop a link to the create connected account, and I'll create one real quickly.
Yeah, totally. And I can start working on the webhook stuff. So so connected accounts.
Yep. Connected accounts. And then we'll say
create.
Yeah. And then
express.
Yeah.
And then I imagine, it would have, I can't.
Can you not select Canada there?
No, I can't. Could I do a standard?
Sure. Yeah, let's do standard in Canada, and then can you send that to me?
Yeah, I'm gonna send that to you.
Okay.
There you go. This is some live debugging, folks. I love it.
I know. Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, there are a couple limitations here around countries.
Okay, so now while you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of walk through where we are in the actual marketplace, and then we'll figure out the splitting in the last 10 minutes we have here. So now I actually have, if I go back to this URL right here. I'm hearing some echo here from you, CJ. So I'm going to mute you for a sec. Let me know.
Okay.
Boom. So now if I go buy this, I actually have payment information I can put in, right? Because we've inputted the Stripe URL. And so what that means is I can actually take this payment. So if I was to send this to anyone, they would be able to pay for that item. So the last step here is how do we go about and tie that payment to that item, right? So how do we know that what was paid is this Aron right here? So we can check off as sold and remove it from our marketplace. And then there's probably a bunch of other things we want to do, like pay out that person, arrange the shipment or the transaction, but we're going to skip all of that for today. What we just want to do is take that payment. So how we do that is there are webhooks you can trigger from Stripe to Airtable to say that this payment link has been paid, right? So someone had a transaction on that payment link. So how we do that, and Colleen, if you could link to the one we did with Joshua, which has like a much more detailed kind of step here. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and go developers. I want to create a webhook, add webhook, and then I need the endpoint. So where is Stripe going to send information to? They're going to send information to Airtable. So let's create a custom automation. So it's going to be receive Stripe webhook. When webhook received, I'm going to copy that URL over to Stripe. Boom. And this is when payment link is paid. Events is going to be payment, so checkout. So this is where, CJ, I'm going to ask you to come back in. Is it invoice or payment completed?
Yeah, so we actually want to do checkout.session.completed here.
This right here. Yep, got it. Perfect.
Yep, correct.
Okie dokes. So add endpoint. So this is saying when any payment link is paid, go to send a webhook to this. So let me actually, can I do a test? I think I can send test webhook.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, send test webhook. And it's saying, okay, this is the webhook. Boom, let's receive it, run test. We've now received that webhook. Now, the problem with this webhook is that it does not have like the Stripe, the test underscore 14K6. It doesn't have that information in the webhook. It's just saying like, hey, someone paid you. Doesn't necessarily have the information around the link itself. But we can actually, with the session ID, be able to say what was checked out, right? So what information was, which payment link was paid. We did that in the previous one. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and copy paste the code.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, I'm happy to drop the link to this. So folks are like, oh, how would I do that? Let me just drop the link right there. Could have dropped that in the chat. So if you have any questions, I think it should be there. If the automation is not there, I copied it into this Stripe scripting right here, right? So you're going to be able to copy paste that into automations because the automation script will not be shared. Cool. Okay, so let me copy paste that. We're going to write a script. Let's make this full screen. Okay, CJ, this is where I need your help.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, I didn't copy the whole thing. Oops, I got to go to my clip. There we go. Okay.
Nice.
So
okay.
We, as an input variable, we're going to do session ID.
Correct. Yep.
Which comes from step 1.
Yep.
And it is in...
I think it's the body, data. Sorry, if you scroll down to data. .ID. Yeah, the top one there.
That right in there. Okay. So we're going to call this session ID is the ID.
Yep. Yep. And then we have to go get your test API keys from the Stripe dashboard.
Yep. There we go. Let's go into developers.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one with SK somewhere here. API keys.
Yeah. API keys. And then we're going to reveal that test key. Copy that. You don't want to reveal your live API keys because they do give access to your actual Stripe account.
Okay, so we're copying that in the test, and then there was something we needed to change. No, actually, no. In this URL, we're expanding to get the customer line items. But I think what we want is the payment link information.
So this is the other thing that we want to do, I think, is in our items table inside of Airtable, I think we want to track the ID for the product. And then from those line items, we can come back and associate those with the product.
Let me know in the chat if my screen is blurry. I think that might just be someone's Wi-Fi. I think it's fine on my end. So to say that again, could we not from this session be able to get this test payment link?
Right. The payment link, like the payment link itself, there's no reference to the payment link, but the payment link is created with a product. And so that product ID in the Stripe dashboard, I think we also want to copy that and add that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So there's a one-to-one relationship between product and payment link. So, whoops, this is the wrong Airtable base. Let's go into Stripe. Let's go into products. And then the Aron, and there should be a product ID here, right here, prod.
That's right. Yep.
Right. Okay, great. So let's bring that into right here. So product ID, single line text. And then for the Aron, let's go ahead and put that in. Okay, great. Thanks for the update. Seems fine. Okay, and I've got it on the Aron. Great. So this is what we're going to search. And are we getting this from the URL by just putting expand line items? So we should have it there, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yep, so it should be in the line items. Yep.
Okay, let's give this so this is with a test session. So I don't know what the line items are going to be, but we can do a live webhook with the payment.
Yeah, let's do a live webhook because I think the test might not have line items. So
Okay. And why are we outputting checkout session?
I think it's on line 4. We're console logging that.
Okay, because it's a test session, so it can't find. Let's do a real run
Yeah,
here
let's do
where
a
we
real
actually do the payment.
Yep.
Let's go to that. Boom.
Nice.
Aron at example.com. 42. Even I know this by now.
Yeah, 4242 is one of our test cards.
There we go. So it did the payment. So that means it sent a webhook.
Yep.
And webhooks. So we have that one right there. And then if we look, we have the checkout session right here. And then I'm wondering whether I can bring it into as a new test again, and if it's going to bring in the latest one. Let's hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
It looks like it. Yeah, that's a real, I think
Okay.
that's a real event. Yeah.
So let's run this again.
Okay.
Okay. And what it's outputting is the session ID. But if we look at checkout session, do we have the product somewhere here?
Yeah, we should have line items now. Yep. So like
Right there.
there. And then inside of data.
You have data right here. I can't click into it. I have it right here, URL.
So that I'm surprised that we're not getting the products back.
Let me see if I can find record. Items. Condition. Let me just see what that looks like.
Okay, sure.
Right. I can go into items where payment link contains. Let me see what dynamic, if I can bring in from step 2, checkout session, and then you said product or data first, or so line items. You said line items.
Yeah, line items, data, and then it should have like that should be an array, and it has,
Yeah, so I have it right here. I have Aron,
Great.
currency,
Yeah, so
quantity, and then ID.
Yeah, let's see what that looks like.
But ID is an array.
Oh, it is. Okay, so that's line item. Let's keep going down a little bit. I think it should have.
But I have description.
Okay,
I could just use description.
Price. Yeah, or if I think price should have the, or is price a string ID? Let's see. Continue. Yeah. So that okay. So if we go down, is there a product there?
My God. Product. There we go.
Here we go. Product. So that's the one. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to, in the output of this script, this just turned into how to handle webhooks.
Yeah. Very
Very
quickly.
which is totally cool. Okay, welcome to Automate All the Things, where we actually automate all the things.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're saying is that we shouldn't output checkout session. Could you remember how to get to that? So we're going to go into checkout session.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
So
dot. Right?
I think we do want, actually, you know what? I think we want checkout session. Can we output multiple things? Because I think we want session and I think we want the account. Well, no, actually, no. So in this case, because we're doing the multi-party where we're splitting it multiple ways, we won't have reference to that seller's ID. But you could also, in this same webhook notification, if we were doing this related to a connected account, it would have the accounts ID. So we would want to output.set the account ID and the checkout session. But because we're splitting it,
but wouldn't Stripe handle that? I don't need to track the splitting in Airtable.
You're right, because the product ID is going to be unique also.
Yeah. So let's just output one product ID.
Yeah, totally.
And then, so I have let checkout session, blah, blah, blah. And then what I want to output is checkout session dot so check-in session. And then you said go to price or data. Bring me back to where I found that ID.
Items. Yeah. So checkout session, line items. Yep. Dot data.
Okay. So
yeah. So I think you can do in JavaScript there, you can do dot line underscore items.
Dot data, the first.
Yep.
And then we said dot price. Let's try to, we can console.log that.
Product. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so oftentimes console.log is the way to debug many of these things because you can print them out and see.
Let's do that.
What values you have there.
Let's do this. Let's test this. Okay. Okay, here we go. So we're here and we're saying dot product. Boom. Let's test that again. Okay, so now we have prod right here. That's the output.
That's the right.
And then if we come here, it's the product ID that's here. So now we can actually just find the record that has that product ID and mark it as sold.
Yep.
You didn't believe there for a moment we were going to get there. I saw your eyes there. But I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of us. So we're going to call this product ID. And let's test that. Great. So now let me actually just make sure console.log. Actually, no, I don't need to. Boom. And here, if we search, so we want to say where product ID is, or actually just contains, just so we're taking less risk. Dynamic, go to output from step 2 and insert that product ID. Let's run the test. It should return one record. If all went well, there we go. And it returned the one record. I can't see it, but I can see, right? And then I could set update record from step in the items, go to step 2, records, and I want record ID, just insert. And I want to update the sold to, I guess, true. I think I've never updated. Sure. I think that should work. Let's try that. Or true or something like this. I don't know if it's got to be, or 1. No, I got to update it to 1. Let's try that. Boom, run test. There we go. And we've updated to sold. All right. Okay, let's do it in live. And then if you've had time to create the connected account, we can try that as like a wrap here. But I do want to do the whole flow. Let's turn on this automation right here. Done. Boom. Let's go into Stripe. I imagine I can repay that Stripe payment link, even though it's paid once.
Yep.
Boom. Okay, let's pay that. And if this works, it should send a webhook that's going to find the record and it's going to mark it as paid. Pay that. This is where we wait.
Does it automatically update or do you have to refresh or anything?
No, it should automatically. Let's do run history.
Okay, while we're...
Oh, it failed to run.
What do we got?
Oh, no, that was what we just ran.
The previous one? Okay.
Let me see what... Oh, no, I was really bullish that was going to work. Webhooks. Oh, no, what happened there? What was my syntax error?
Hey, Stephen, asking if there's a way to pre-populate the fields in the payment link. The fields that you would fill in on the page that you land on, ultimately, there isn't a way to pre-populate those with payment links. There's another Stripe product called Stripe Checkout, where you can pass reference to a customer object and you can pre-fill a couple different things, but that
Oh,
does require implementing your own like checkout session.
I
So
know what happened. I had a stray parentheses.
stray prints. Okay,
Classic,
nice. All right.
classic. Okay, let me
Okay.
just update. Whew, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I'm bullish
Okay.
now. I'm very
Nice.
confident. Let's do that again. Boom. I imagine you've got like
Lots of
uh,
connected accounts.
no. Just like you can fill these out faster than anyone. Okay, so this now is
Oh,
gonna go ahead
yes.
and pay, and now we hold our breath to see if it
Okay.
worked.
Can you also
Boom!
create? Oh, nice.
Boom!
Success. Great success.
Success.
Amazing. Could you create another link for connected account again and send it to me? We need to have an Express account. So
Okay,
we have
I
to
don't think
create
we're
the
gonna get to
Express
it.
account in Canada. Oh yeah, we're out of time, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all right. That's all right. So I hope
Cool.
folks. So you now have it sold. You can create an automation that says, go out and pay out that person. So maybe where we end
Yes.
just a minute here is actually go into, I imagine if I had payments, right? So
Yes.
Jeff just paid me. How would I go about
Yep.
splitting that if I wanted to?
Yeah. So let's actually go to the payouts tab now on the left.
Right.
And so I'm sorry, this is your payouts. Let's go um,
Transfers.
back to yes. Sorry, this just moved around. Yeah, let's go to transfers and then create a new transfer. And now,
That's
why is
where
it
I
saying
would.
no connected accounts? Yeah,
That's where I would
it's so
find your
odd.
account and then pay you out.
Yes,
Uh, uh,
exactly, exactly. I wonder if it's because your account is this account activated, like fully activated, your
yeah, this is
test
a
account?
real. This is my real Stripe account.
This is real. Okay, huh? Yeah, I wonder what's going on.
That's
Okay.
okay. Well, hopefully
Yeah, so that's
folks
where we
got an
would start.
intro into checkout. And
Yes.
I'd love to do in the future, CJ, like a more, a more detailed look into webhooks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
So I think we went a little quickly there on a lot of things, on building the marketplace, on doing the webhook, on doing the connected accounts. We bit off a little more than we can chew. So I appreciate all of your patience. Hopefully everyone learned a thing or two. Penny's going to be watching the stream again. I'll probably rewatch the stream as well. I feel like CJ was guiding me through a lot of that. But yeah, CJ, huge thanks for coming on Automate All the Things. Was a real joy. We definitely, that one was a little bit of work. And thanks to everyone for joining. Colleen, Kyle, Steven, I hope to see you next week. We're going to be back with Connor for No Code Talk, where we're going to, highlight some no code project, answer your questions. And yeah, huge thanks again, CJ, for joining. And we'll
Yeah,
have to
thanks
do
for
it
having
again
me.
sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, great time. Hope everyone enjoyed taking a look at Connect and payment links.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See ya.